Hello and welcome to the Miles to Zen podcast. I'm so happy you're here with me today. This is a podcast where we explore possibility and new perspectives through the lens of curiosity, creativity, and connection. And this week, I have had one of my more unexpectedly artsy weeks. I decided to take a romance writing workshop called From Spark to Sizzle by the BC Writers Federation. And it really just opened up parts of my brain that I didn't even know were on vacation. And then to top it off, and that's what I want to talk about today, is I spent time this weekend wandering through the East Vancouver Culture Crawl. And if you're in Vancouver, you know that this is one of the most significant indie art events of the year. And artists open up their studios and wander in, and it's a really great time. You get to walk through all of these different studios and be surrounded by deep expression in the forms of murals and sculptures and photos and small prints. And if you're a highly sensitive person and you go and you embark on one of these things, even a museum might find that you will need a nap after. But I had this moment of realization, probably again, that art really saves us as humans, especially when we think of how fast AI is changing our landscape. Art is one of those things that reminds us of our humanness. And I keep thinking back to people that you talk to in different corners of the world and what they may have on their walls or as little carvings on a bookshelf. And it reminds us in this very quiet way that we are all human and that we're alive and feeling things. And today I want to talk about why that matters and why appreciating art, even if you don't think you're an art person, is actually one of the best ways that we have to strengthen that belief in our inner knowing and to feel more grounded and bring a little more joy into your everyday life. And I've certainly found that with my art journeys over the years, whether that be photography, writing, painting, even podcasting. It's a way to bring more joy into your life. And who doesn't want that? So picture this. I'm standing in front of this very old warehouse. It is covered in graffiti and it's beside railway tracks. And it's this gray, ginormous industrial building. It's called Parker Studios. And the building is like an art exhibit in itself. It's drafty and full of these hidden rooms, endless hallways, too many stairwells to count. I'm sure it's been in a bunch of movies. And it's actually the same size as the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. I can guarantee you it feels very different than a traditional museum. And it was just packed full of a cross section of humanity. Artists, the guy down the street from the brew pub, soccer moms and dads, business people, fashionistas, retirees, dreamers, and so many more. And I think when you go to see an art exhibit, wherever you are, you can often find this unexpected cross section of humanity at the exhibit. And I would encourage everyone to do this. And if you get a chance to go to a community exhibit like this East Vancouver Arts Crawl, I would highly recommend it. And so there's this one moment that I went with a friend and my husband, and we walk into this one studio, and my friend gets all teary looking at this painting. And she was feeling it deeply. I looked at that same painting and I I liked it. It was nice, but I didn't have that same reaction. And it was just such an awesome reminder that art is not meant to be universally understood. It's meant to touch the exact person when they need it. So, two people, one painting, and two totally different experiences. Neither of us were right and neither of us were wrong. We just were experiencing what we each experienced in front of the art. And I think it's awesome. It's so human. And I think art becomes a mirror sometimes and it reflects back to us how we're feeling, where we're at, and something that words don't necessarily always catch. And one of the things I think is a ginormous myth is when somebody says they're not an art person. Oh, I'm not into art. And then 30 seconds later, they're debating the design of a Ferrari like it's a philosophical text. I've experienced this. Perhaps I could live with this person. Or, for example, they have a very strong opinion on a tattoo, or they could rearrange throw pillows on a couch 14 times because something doesn't feel right. Guess what? It's art. It's all art. Every single bit. Art is anything that makes you feel something. It could be that mug that you reach for every morning, the mural that you pass on your commute, a playlist that you use at the gym, the way you decorate your house, a stranger's tattoo, even that you stare at for a little bit too long in a coffee shop. Guilty, maybe. And yes, I did have to go and talk to her about it. And yes, she was a little taken aback, but she got over it and then showed me her tattoo on her other arm, which was an incredible dragon. But I digress. We are surrounded by creativity constantly, and we are participating in it constantly. Even if we're not holding a paintbrush, we're making choices every day that express who we are. And that's why art is so important. It really helps bring us back to an authentic expression of ourselves. And I find often if we have had a career or even a partial career of working for other people and delivering what we need to deliver for other people, sometimes, or if we're people pleasers, as I've talked about a lot in this podcast, sometimes it is difficult to remember our own authenticity. And art is such a fantastic way to remind us of what we like, what we don't like. And that's really an expression of ourselves and who we are. And as we talked about in the last podcast with Monica, that's what makes our puzzle piece so important. And how there's that exact hole in the puzzle of 8 billion people that needs our self expression, needs our authentic voice. And one of the things is, I think art really strengthens that inner trust muscle and builds your intuition. So people don't, I think people are starting to talk about this more, that it is a fabulous way to practice self trust, inner knowing, intuition. And it's because intuition isn't loud, it requires you to get quiet. It doesn't jump in and tap itself on your shoulder and say, okay, I'm here, do this or do that. No, it's quiet. It's a quiet nudge. It's a quiet yes, a quiet no, a voice inside of your head. And when you're in front of a painting, for example, or you're listening to a song, or a latte with perfect latte art, you are actually listening to that quiet inner voice of what it is that you like. Do I like this? Why do I like this? Why does this make me feel a little bit uncomfortable? Why do I want to stare at this sculpture for 20 minutes? I had that with some octopus sculptures today. They were incredible out of wood, and I just wanted to stare at them for such a long time. And other paintings that made me want to run in the other direction. And why is it? Why do they make me feel that way? And that's all intuition training. It's gentle and it's honest and it's a quiet voice. And you don't need to, sit there and quiet your mind on a meditation cushion. It just happens in those small moments where you stop and contemplate something. So every time that you notice beauty or some form of creativity or something that makes you feel one way or another, by noticing that, you're really strengthening that internal compass. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I've certainly noticed that it feels like time is moving so fast. Yes, my cat would agree. If you're watching this on YouTube, you see the cat. Um, Time is moving so fast, and that is hard on our nervous system. And by just contemplating art, you slow down, you become present. And when you become present, you remember things and you are aware and available for your life. And also, what I love about art is it allows for multiple opinions to exist in the same time and space or about the same topic. It's just one more way that we allow ourselves to be human and not be the same. We don't need to be the same as everyone else. So when you're looking at art, any art, you're practicing presence, perspective. You could be practicing empathy. You're certainly practicing curiosity. And you are being honest with yourself about how you feel about what you're looking at or what you're experiencing. And these are all the things that we need to thrive as humans. And it's what the collective needs as well for us to thrive as humans. So before the end of your day, I would invite you to do a small experiment, something simple and fun, and to practice that inner knowing. Notice one piece of art in your life that you normally would overlook. Now, it might be that mural that you usually brush past. It might be a picture in a coffee shop, a song that you haven't listened to for a long time. It could be Mother Nature's art, the shape of a tree, the coloring of your pet. Just notice one thing that stirs you in the moment, right then and there. And that is art bringing you back to the present moment, strengthening your intuition, and helping you really come back to that authentic self voice, that moment of noticing, stopping, noticing, appreciating or not. At one moment helps you really develop that inner knowing, and it will slow down time and ultimately, I feel, bring more joy into your life. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe. And I hope you have some art moments this week. And if you'd like to share those with me, that would be awesome. I'd love to hear about it. And I will talk to you next week. Have a great week, everyone.